Rolling Realms is Stonemaier Games' latest release. Born out of the 2020 COVID quarantine, it was originally released as a free print-and-play game, but it saw so much enthusiastic response that they decided to release an official version. This cute little box equipped with cute little dry erase markers, cute little erasers, and cute little laminated cards that have cute little abstract interpretations of Stonemaier's catalog. And that's a big part of its charm. Stonemaier Games was audacious enough to say, hey, you know what would make a great theme for a game? Our corporate marketing strategy. And it kind of works. A game of Rolling Realms is divided into 3 rounds, where each round players use a new random but identical to all other players set of 3 cards that are each like a minigame that you can spend dice on to gain resources or points. During each of the round's 9 turns, someone rolls the 2 dice, players record the numbers, then spend the dice on their cards however they choose as long as they obey the restrictions on their cards and spend those dice on different cards, which can be modified by spending resources that can manipulate the dice, allow multiple dice to be used on the same card, or even grant theoretical extra dice which themselves can be manipulated and assigned. And as I said earlier, each of the cards are an abstraction of another Stonemaier title. It's fun seeing that if you maximize efficiency for top and bottom assignment on the scythe card, that you can take 2 actions at once, or the pendulum card allows you to build up rewards on larger payouts on completion of the hourglasses. It's just like those other games. Except there is no connection to the actual theme of the games that are being represented in this game. This is a meta theme, and if you have no relationship to those other Stonemaier titles, then it's a series of arbitrary restrictions on what numbers can go where, which is fine, but the entire purpose of thematic resonance is to cement understanding and create immersion. If you don't know that doubles mean something in Euphoria, or you build a tableau of birds and wingspan, it's just math. Which, I like math. Math is fun. But a big appeal of roll and writes is how accessible they are. Even though the individual mechanics are actually quite simple in this game, I think you're going to have a hard time having Mima and your weird Uncle Zeno wrapping their brain around this one. But for those of us who are fans of abstract math, optimization, or Stonemaier games as a whole, the charm is there, and seeing how best to manipulate numbers based on the results of a roll or whatever new combination of 3 cards comes out in a round is cool. In one game, your tapestry card may be a critical component of scoring points in a round, but in another game, it may languish in favor of the other 2 cards. And while everyone could technically do the exact same thing, given that everyone is using the same cards and the same dice rolls, I actually see quite a bit of divergence when people play. Not to mention the uniformity does ensure balance. After all, everyone is using the exact same tools in the toolbox. I'm usually an asymmetric powers type of person, but I can see how keeping everything straight here prevents it from going off the rails. If I had any other major criticism of the game, it's that it's more nuanced than you'd initially think, and the game invites you to pore over options to puzzle out optimal assignment, inviting a level of intensity and concentration from more analytically inclined players that's anathema to the game's whole shtick. Furthermore, possible placements, the theoretical dice allocations from spending resources, the various combinations of cards, let alone learning how each card works the first time, makes the game sometimes feel more complicated than it is complex. Ultimately, once players do wrap their brains around the cards and get into the swing of things, it does feel pretty intuitive, and it plays fast, and best of all, it delivers the goods when it comes to that awesome feeling of seeing the dice roll, figuring out where those numbers can go, chaining things together, combining them, and just making things happen. One last thing I want to note though is that the solo game is really cool. I thought I'd hate it at first. It's a campaign where you play through a mini golf course where each hole is a predetermined combination of cards with some modified rules or goals that you have to make several attempts to succeed at. I was like, predetermined puzzles? That sounds incredibly dry, but in practice, it's more like an 18-hole campaign where each of those holes is the equivalent of a round of the normal multiplayer game, and you may be making several attempts at playing each of those in order to go on to the next one. That is a substantial amount of content. You record your progress on a tracker so you can knock out a couple holes in a session and come back later. It's 18 individual and often extremely challenging puzzles that encourage you to take your time and lean into your most analytical tendencies. The game itself is pretty good, but I found the solo mode great. So it's not perfect, but if you are looking for a roll and write game that overcomes the disposable nature of the genre's pencil and paper conventions, or you're looking for a quirky, puzzly, analytical game with a great solo campaign to boot, or you're just wanting to geek out on the Stonemaier cinematic universe, then Rolling Realms is here for you. And that's our review. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcast, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.